Happy Monday, friends. It's Paul Olbrantz with your last Monday market update of 2025. You want to watch this if you are a family out there looking to buy a home. If you're a family that bought a home, and let's say your rate is about 6.25% or higher, and if you're someone who's thinking about a home, we're going to cover a lot of stuff of why potentially you should buy today, quote unquote, today. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about what else are we going to talk about? What's called a strike rate. So, what do you say? Let's just dive into our last 2025 update here. And let's bring up the first slide here. So, let's talk a little bit about interest rates. So, since last week, interest rates have been relatively flat. We had a really slow week last week. We expect another slow week this week. So I don't really expect rates to change all that much. But if you take a look, it's pretty similar from last week, where the VA and FHA are the same at about a 5.25%. Conventional, our good friend conventional did drop from a 5.75 to a 5.625. And then jumbo is a 5.875. Now, the thing is with these rates I'm posting, we talk about it almost every week. I just want to make sure there's clarity here, is these rates are shown with 1 point. If you don't know what a point is, just message me. I have a great video, or go to my YouTube channel and I'll describe what a point is. But essentially, you're prepaying interest up front at closing, or at closing, to get a lower interest rate. The goal is that you're going to hold the loan long enough at that lower rate, and that savings is going to accumulate more than that upfront fee. Now, why I'm showing that, where typically in the past for the last 3 years I never have, is simply because in this market, sellers are paying for it given the right circumstances. Now, not all houses. We had a house last week or 2 weeks ago, perhaps, that was multiple offers, went way over purchase price or asking price. And so it depends on the property itself, but that could be a great strategy to lock in that super lower interest rate, where perhaps you may never have to refinance, well, at least in the foreseeable future. Speaking of refinance, this is a good time to bring up strike rate. Do you know what your strike rate is? This is so important. If you're a family out there that bought a house last year, maybe a year before, and you're not sure when it's time to refinance, you hear a lot of people out there saying, oh, the rates have to drop 1% or more for you to refinance. That's true in some circumstances, but it's not true in all circumstances. We have tools that will allow you to look at the actual numbers. Numbers do not lie. And that's what we need to figure out. At what point should you consider refinancing? See, the thing is, in my experience, is everybody wants the lowest interest rate. So when I ask, hey, what rate are you hoping to get? Well, I'm hoping to get the lowest one, Paul, which makes sense. The problem with that theory is we don't know when the lowest rate's going to happen. So a target rate is a rate where if it came and you didn't lock it in, you would regret it if rates went back up. So that's what I'm here to help you figure out. It's not a guessing game. There's an actual science involved in it. There's a QR code somewhere around here. It's for a hopes and dreams conversation. We can go through this. There's no applications, no credit. Let's lock in your 2026 target rate today, or this week at least. All right, what is next on slide? So if you're looking to buy a house and you're wondering, I don't know, the market is not really, I think the market's going to crash. Here's something you need to consider when it comes to demand for housing. This is huge. This is something that could really change the game in terms of housing values. So what this is demographics is destiny. So this is, let's just take a look here. Millennials, there's 73 million. There's 73 million millennials right now. The current median age is 30, so 45 million total. The homeowner rate is 33%. So 33% of millennials at age 30 own a home. The next 10 years is going to be huge. That rate is going to go from 33% to 55%. 33% to 55%. That's going to put 10 million more home buyers into this market. Now, it doesn't stop there. Let's take a look at Gen Z. Gen Z has 69 million total. Current median age is 20, so 69 million in total. Over the next 10 years, they're expected to add 17 million home buyers. So the issue that we're going to face is not going to be a rate problem, which rate is important because it talks about affordability, but we're really having an issue of supply. In some areas, maybe it's where you live, there is nowhere to build a house. And so there's only one place for people or for housing prices to go, and that is up, especially with this increase in demand. Now, okay, so we saw that, hey, you know what? Future home values are looking very promising. But what about when is the right time to buy? That's a question that comes up a lot. To answer that, let's take a look at the last 3 years. So check this out. You're going to love this. If you're looking to buy a home, you need to see this right now. This is huge. So if we go back over since 2021, in January 2022, you can see a spike in housing prices where it peaks maybe in June, right? And then it slowly, you can see the demand slowly trickling down to again January of 2023, where it peaks again. And then it slowly comes down to January of 2024. So if you're thinking of buying a house based on last 3 years of this data, maybe now is the best time to get a deal because remember we talked about sellers paying closing costs, credits for interest rates, but also take a look at the appreciation that people are getting in the first 6 months if they buy now versus waiting till June. Now, what if you have a house that you need to sell first before you buy? I did a video of 5 ways where you can buy first before you sell. Reach out. I mean, the ideal situation if it were me is to take advantage of today's market, assuming the right house comes around, and then holding my house till, maybe May or June and getting that sold then at the peak of demand so I can get the most value out of it. So my friends, that's our last this week in rates for 2025. I want to wish you and your family a safe, a happy, a magical 2026. And remember, if you're doing your goals and buying a home or refinancing or just putting a plan in place is a part of your 2026 goals, I want to remind you there's a hopes and dreams conversation. There's a QR code, which is the same one in the corner of my screen. No obligations, no credit pulls, no documentation. Take advantage of my 20 years of experience in this industry. The biggest challenges that people have when they do their own research, which is huge, is they miscalculate payment, they miscalculate what program they should go into, and they miscalculate cash to close. We can solve all of that within 5 minutes, about 20 to 30 minutes of a phone call for free. My friends, that's it. Paul Olbrantz, Clear2Close Brokers. Have a wonderful, wonderful New Year's.